welcome into Live on Two Wheels for the month of June, everybody. So glad you could make it. Ghost here. We don't have Patty Rick here. He's helping Chase, I think, catch up on a few things. But we do have a guest here that we're grateful to have, and one that's probably going to jump in here quick. So, everyone, this is Trey Dog.
Going on, guys? Trey Dog here, repping the Smart gear. Happy to be here to kind of talk about some stuff. Guess what we got lined up this week?
So Trey Dog, if you've probably seen him in the chat a few times. He's been in the C2 Dub Discord. He is clearly by his shirt been brainwashed into the Smart community. Has gone on SmartCon adventures with us, everything, but he does have some relevant context in being here. Today we're going to talk about the MSF, Motorcycle Safety Foundation, the courses. And Trey, you are actually a coach with the MSF.
I am. So I've actually taught for 3 years. It's been a wild 3 years. And I will say that up here in this great state of Tennessee, it has been a lot of fun. The hot days are hot, and the cold days are cold, though. So we actually teach. I've taught in February and I've taught in August, and they both have their pros and cons for sure. But yeah, dude, I'm part of a great organization called Mid-10 Motorcycle up here. I am a contractor for them. I am one of two coaches, usually teaching somewhere in the Murfreesboro area each weekend. Actually, about 2 weekends a month for me. But dude, the stories that we can tell, there's a
I
lot that
imagine.
happens. Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure you see the whole range of people coming in with skill sets and attitudes and personalities that you could probably just sit here for hours telling stories, but
Dude.
maybe just highlight a few here in a minute. But so you don't like work directly for like the MSF. It's kind of, how is that kind of structured, just to lay the groundwork for us?
So I guess I kind of start with how I got into this in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of background on me. I am a uh, grew up on motorcycles, grew up on dirt bikes. Started riding when I was 3.5. Knee high to a grasshopper. I've grown like 2 feet since then, as you can tell, as you met me in person.
That tracks.
5'6" king, short king here.
Hey,
But I've been riding street since about 2018. I started out on an MT-09 and graduated up to currently have two Aprilias, two spicy boys. I have a 200 V4, which I love, as well as a Treys 660 that I got to go on adventures with this past weekend with some friends. And I also have a Harley, believe it or not. I'm her brother. Um, but with all that said, my wife likes to describe me as a golden retriever on two legs. And so I bring a
can
lot of
confirm.
outgoing, a lot of outgoing extrovert energy. And one day I was perusing Facebook and I saw a post from our local Mid-10 Motorcycle Education Center. They were basically saying, hey, throwing it out there, we're going to have a kind of a coach boot camp of sorts. If you'd like some information, text this number. So I ended up actually texting that number, and one thing led to another, and I was interviewed. They did a phone conversation with me. The lovely lady by the name of Dee Tompkins and Kelly Appleton. Those are our fearless leaders.
Mm-hmm.
They interviewed me and asked me, "Hey, Cal, what's getting you into this?" I'm like, "Well, I've got this hole in my heart that's not filled by the 9 dogs we have or the 2 kids I have.
Well,
I need to do something else in my life because am I ever am I ever wondering chance to not have a single moment to do nothing in my life?"
but
I
seriously,
said
right?
I could probably become a coach. And they said, great, you sign up. There's going to be anywhere from 35 to 50 hours of online coursework with a 4-day boot camp with a guy named Steve Kirsch with a company called Be Crash Free. Um, I'm like, okay. She's like, so if you're really interested in this, let's get to it. The long and the short is I had a 4-day boot camp after all this, we call it a Bible, but basically um, kind of walking you through the do's and don'ts of being a coach and, more, believe it or not, more of the soft skill side, kind of how do you approach different situations? How do you approach someone who is timid? How do you approach someone who knows it all and is cocky, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Once we got through that work and passed the written portions, I actually got to do a 4-day Thursday through Sunday boot camp where Thursday and Friday, me and I think it was 11 other coaches got together and met up at a range and walked through. Okay, this is kind of exercise 1 through 14, which is kind of a general weekend.
Hmm.
And then once we kind of got our heads around it, we were told, okay, coaches pair up, group project style, and you're going to have an opportunity to teach some of these exercises to a real group, a real class on Saturday and Sunday. Well, that led to actually being out there, 12 coaches with 12 students, 12 paying students, mind you, for a
Ah.
weekend. Yes. And you talk about an awkward weekend, man. We're fumbling over everything. Nothing was efficient. It just took forever. But at the end of the weekend, we had 12 coaches and 12 newly licensed students walk away from that weekend in Nashville, ready to go and start teaching. And at that point, I got to kind of work my way up through our local mid-10 group.
Hmm.
Again, I'm a contract laborer. I don't work directly for MSF. I'm a 1099, as you might know. And basically, I work with mid-10 on scheduling. Basically, the way this works is they'll say in February or in January and in June, they'll send out, a letter saying, hey, what weekends do you not want to work? And I'll get with my wife and my family and like, okay, we have, these are the birthdays, these are the holidays, so nix these, but I can fill in anywhere
Vacations.
else.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you kind of give them an idea of like, hey, I want to teach 1 to 2 times a month. And again, it's purely on us. Like if we want to teach, twice a
Hmm.
year, I can do that. If I want to fill up 52 weekends, I can do that as well. Um,
Yeah.
but it's been a really good way for me to kind of give back to the community.
Sure.
You see a lot of being in the Nashville area. There's a lot of MCs. There's a lot of chaos on two wheels. Um, I will say that. But this is kind of it's a way for me to give back to the community that I love. We also have the benefit of working with the Department of Homeland Security, believe it or not. I've got a shirt that says that.
Oh, wow.
And
He's official now.
I'm official, bro. Um, but it's crazy because we have access to statistics. We have access to the numbers, crash data and stuff like that. And just seeing that me dedicating a weekend of my time,
Mhm.
teach, 6 to 12 new students or even returning refreshment students, people that want to kind of come back
Yeah.
and get back into things. And knowing that they have, like a 33 point something percent chance of being, making it to the next 18 months safely. And knowing that what we do actually makes a positive impact, a positive difference on this, it fills that hole that again, my life
Yeah. It's
doesn't have anyways. Yeah.
no, I think your life is full. You're just adding stuff on top. Like you filled up the trailer. Now you're strapping stuff to the top of the car. And no,
As someone was told me, they said your plate is full, but your plate is not full of your food. I'm like, okay, you're right.
fair enough. Fair enough.
So
But hey, I mean, that's just kind of the personal drive you have of like, I want to do this. You kind of want to stay busy, it sounds like.
right.
So, because you may cause some trouble if you're too idle on that.
Idle
Yeah.
hands.
So it's interesting to know, I guess, so it's like, you said you're contracted. I guess, does the MSF certify these different organizations? I guess, and they have, I guess, a liaison or some type of,
Yep.
I don't know, certified person there. Because I've seen, um, I guess, different authorized MSF locations.
Right.
Because I know we're close to the Honda Rider Education Center.
Yeah.
So, American Honda has like a outpost or facility. Their main headquarters is in California, but they have a facility here in Georgia, and they have an MSF course. I've taken the dirt bike course up there, which
Right.
was interesting. But then when I took my MSF course, I actually took it at a dealership that's in the area. So it's interesting how but it wasn't even through the dealership. It was like through some Two Wheel Adventure LLC. I
Right.
don't even know, but it's
Well,
kind of interesting how they set that up.
so full disclosure, I got my street license through our local Harley Davidson dealership. I work hand in hand with those same people though now. Yes, they are under different umbrellas as far as, so you have the Harley Easy Rider courses, you have the local MSF guys, you have people that are doing stuff like Jerry Palladino, who does his own, certified course. We all have kind of the same structure though. And again, I went through B Crash Free, which was sort of a kind of a proctor to get us certified into this. But at the end of the day, we're all certified to teach the same stuff. And what's a lot of fun is you go in to see a coach, that coach has actually done everything you've done. Because the benefit of being in my position, I've had to take each course as a student to know what it's like to be on that side of the desk before
Mhm.
even getting an attempt to start coaching it myself.
Right.
So every coach has been in the shoes of a new rider or an experienced rider coming in for that. So we've also done, we don't have just the basic rider course, which is kind of, day 1 hour zero for a lot of people. We also have the advanced rider course. We're starting to work towards an adventure course like you've taken before. What's fun for me is my ranges are actually on high schools. So we're actually kind of out in the band parking lots. We don't have really shelter. I say shelter. We have these shipping containers that are on the ground level where we keep the bikes. So if something does happen, because we do rain or shine, if there is like a serious thunderstorm, we get inside this giant metal container to be safe. Um, right,
Sounds great.
exactly. But we like these, they're real world situations that happen a lot of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, seriously, it's this is not by any stretch of the imagination of me saying, hey, mid 10 is the only people that can do this. As we know, I think we got another guest coming on at some point that also teaches in, I think, what's he's Missouri. So he does a lot of the same
Maybe
stuff too.
Illinois.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that'll be Randrew. He may be coming in hot. Y'all seen him around a little bit. And it is interesting that from state to state, there's maybe some different ways it's facilitated. Sometimes it's done through, I guess, local municipalities. Sometimes it's just, you have to go find a dealer, and depending upon which is offered, you may not have to pay a whole lot, or you may have to save up a couple $100.
I was going to say, I think
But
Michigan and Illinois, I think they are, well, not Illinois, might be Illinois, Missouri. There's
we'll
some that are
ask him.
offered for free. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some that are offered for free. It's just kind of a state funded thing. Um, Another reason why I was excited to become a coach is because I knew that people around here had to pay a entry fee, pay a licensing fee to do this.
Yeah.
So the chances of me having a disgruntled student come in, they paid good money to be there, so they want to have good, safe fun for the weekend.
Hmm.
So, whereas I've had coaches I've worked with that come from the Great White North saying that, man, it's just so much nicer down here because we could be selected about, or we're a little bit more selective about who comes in versus just, anybody with that wants to, have their license or has a DUI, then, thinks they had to come through this. Some people aren't wanting to be there. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So the people that pay, that they have a little skin in the game, and they're actually
Hmm.
going to try. And yeah, I never thought about that, but I guess I would say to anybody who is watching or listening, if you live in a state where you can get that for free, why haven't you done that if you haven't already? Because if you're listening or watching this, you have some interest in motorcycles and you can go take a course for free. Duh.
Well, didn't
so
you
I,
say that you've done it?
hmm?
Didn't you say that you've done this? That you've done the course?
So yeah, so if we go way back 9 years ago, when I looked at my wife and said, "Hey, I want to ride a motorcycle," and she was like, "Who are you?" Because motorcycling was just not even on my radar growing up or anything. It just wasn't a thing. But I got this itch, and it just, that's stupid. It'd be cool to have one. No, that's dumb. So I finally just thought, you know what? I'm going to go take the MSF course. And I think it was $250 for me. And I thought, this can at least be look who decided to show up. Our boy Randrew has finally made it.
Hey, sexy.
His audio is not working. This is awesome. Yeah, yeah, serious. Well, we're going to press on until you can kind of get this. So, um, I took the MSF course just as a, let me even see if I like this, because I didn't know. Like, I'd never driven a manual vehicle ever, and
Wow.
so yeah, again, it just was not in. I grew up in a different area than you did. My parents,
Hard mode. Let's go.
but but this was me just like taking a chance. Like I was like, I don't know what this is going to be like. I have an interest in motorcycling. I've never ridden one, never operated a manual anything, but I at least knew enough to be like training. Let me learn the
Right.
right way. And so I went into this course, and I was the only one that did not have any experience ever. All the other people, I think there was like 8 of us. There was a couple returning riders, an older lady maybe in her late 50s who just wanted to get back into it. A couple guys that had grown up on dirt bikes but never got street licensed.
Seeing
And
as a coach, though, what you see with you, coach saw, okay, there's no bad habits to break. Like he
yeah,
knows
so
nothing, so
clean
I can
slate.
mold him from, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it was kind of intimidating at first for me because I came in and I'm like, oh, this person's been riding bikes for how long? This guy did dirt bikes, they rode in past, and I'm like, I'm going to be a. And funny thing is, when we got out on the range the first time, and that one of the first exercises where you first start learning the friction zone of just like
Yep.
ease out the clutch. Boy, I let that thing go and the bike jumped about 5 feet, and I just went, oh, I failed. And after that, not a problem.
Nice.
Randrew, welcome.
Does this actually work? I just
Yeah,
Hey,
installed Zoom for the first time on this computer. This is actually
welcome
the
to
first time the computer's been on in a month, so
welcome to the professional world.
oh boy,
So
can't wait.
everyone, this is Randrew. You've probably seen him, big smart guy. He is also an MSF coach. Randrew, if you want to give kind of a quick synopsis about like your path to being an MSF coach and where you coach and things like that.
Oh, I got an email one day asking
They
if I
recruiting.
wanted to do it,
Burton.
and I said sure. I took mine up in Northern Illinois, so I emailed them back. I was like, yeah, I'll be curious. I'll bite. What does this entail? And they said, well, you're in the wrong region. We'll send you to a different region. Okay. And then I got another email from my boss, my current boss now, and he's like, still want to do it? Yeah. This is what it's to take. You sure? Yeah. All right, cool, you're in. Um, so that's how I got offered the job. Not at all from the people. But I was like, I got nothing better to do. A second job sounds fantastic. I was wondering if it was voluntary. I didn't know that you'd get paid. It was voluntary in my head. So I agreed, but I got to the class and I was like, man, I'm really happy I get to volunteer. I'm really happy I get to, they're like, volunteer. You, this is a paying job. I'm like, oh,
A
okay.
motorcycling can be enough payment sometimes, but um, yeah, I like how the different approach. You said you had nothing better to do, and Trey Dog's over here like, oh, my schedule is completely full, but let's throw something else in there that I can do. All right, we got to pause. Oh, Hobbit is over here super chatting, so we need to go back. Chaos tip of the day: don't ride like Hobbit. I drive like a ring wraith out of Mordor. Awesome. He's really bringing in the Hobbit references. And then he just did another super chat. I don't think the sound effect has come through yet. I don't know if we can say it. But he says, Randrew still owes me a Hobbit or a chaos-oriented MSF course, JK.
Come on up
We can
here
do
and
chaos.
take my ARC. Don't even worry
All
about BRC. I'll teach you the ARC stuff.
right, hold on. Walk through what the different ones are and kind of basic day
Yeah.
1, hour 0
Well,
people to, okay, we've been out here riding for 20 years. Can you walk us through kind of how that works?
so in the great state of Illinois, the rider classes, all rider classes are free. It's just a $20
That's wild.
deposit.
That's wild. And that's
So,
cool, though, but it's...
And you can just walk into the class. So if you know a class is going on, if you can walk in, like class starts at 6 on Friday, you get there at 5:30, we'll write your name on the board. And if it strikes 6 and people haven't made it, you get their spot.
Do you have to
That
be a
sounds
resident
miserable.
of Illinois, or can you come from out of state?
You
and
need to
then
have an Illinois address.
Makes sense.
So it's
Tax.
we are
Yeah.
our motorcycle licensing taxes and stuff pays for the entire program. So
That's cool.
So anyway, in the state of Illinois, we have a bunch of different ones. We have the BRC, which is the basic rider course. That's your standard run of the mill. I've never been on a bike. I want to learn how to do it. We also have a BRC2, which is like I've been riding illegally for a number of years, and I would like to just take a condensed course so that way I can get through this. Okay. We run only
That's
a
the
handful of
GED
those a
version,
year.
right?
Yeah. So we only run a handful of those a year. And then we have the ARC, which I also teach the advanced riders course, which is 8 hours on one day, usually on Sunday. And you bring your own bike in, and we have our bikes, and we do a bunch of fun exercises, do some bike bonding. We have a little bit of classroom work for some perception things, some fun exercises. But generally, you get to hang out with a bunch of motorcycle guys for 8 hours and play on the pavement. Next up is brand new as of this year, the three-wheel, the trike training. So we're going to be getting that, and that has Can-Ams. We supply the Can-Ams. So
Yeah. Kind of talking about that for the basic rider courses. What bikes do y'all use for your students?
We have TW 200s, XT 225s, Rebel 250s, and Rebel 300s.
Trey.
So the majority of ours are the Suzuki TU 250Xs, which are more of a cafe racer style. Racer, a whole mighty 8 horsepower maybe. We do have a few of the new Rebel 300s. We're any of the Rebel 250s and Suzuki G somethings. Basically, we're all fuel injected now. They've kind of phased out the carbureted stuff, and I think they're actually making the attempt to get the new Rebels back out of the fleet, just due to, yes, if you're a new rider, the Rebel 300s and 500s are probably the first thing you're gonna go look at and sit on. But as far as a approachability standpoint, there's something about the physicality of the ergonomics of the new Rebel that are just not great for a lot of people, because of short seat height means your rider triangle, or where your knees are kind of up against you. But also the fact of when you're doing things, these, take a step back, the MSF stuff, it's all second gear at most, parking lot stuff, 25 miles an hour at the very most. But it's kind of broken down into low speed maneuvers and high speed maneuvers. High speed again. But these low speed maneuvers are your parking lot stuff, your friction zone, being able to dance with the bike a little bit, making these tight U-turns, slaloms, offset weaves, stuff like that. Well, what they're finding is with these Rebels, when you need to turn the handlebars full lock and you're trying to turn around, if you're a small stature person like myself, your arm is just way out here when you're trying to make a left-hand turn, or the other, go in the opposite direction. But if you're on the TU, yes, you kind of are tippy-toeing, but everything's so much more kind of accessible and approachable that it's kind of the statistic of, okay, what bikes were dropped this weekend? Usually it's going to be a Rebel. So again, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, I could see that. Because cruisers even feel weird to me now. When I sit on one,
Right.
and like my feet are out in front of me, I'm like, oh, I don't like this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could see that being kind of no bueno. I'm trying to think of what bike I took mine on. It was, I guess it was like an older Honda. Was there like a Nighthawk, a 250 Nighthawk? It was one of those guys. That was pretty good. I liked that one. But yeah, I was. Yeah, you got to have a lot of these smaller bikes. Obviously, you don't want to put people out there on Gixxer 1000s, but the approachable bikes is a lot of your small CC Hondas and Suzukis, and actually a couple weeks ago, I guess maybe through MSF, but also they have this Ride With Us campaign they started. And they had an event that I saw them starting to like advertise, and it just happened to be like up the road from me at a Cycle Gear. I took the wife up there, and they had a fleet of like 3 or 4 Triumph Speed 400s. Ooh. And then they had like a Grom, a Honda Monkey, and then something else. But she got on that Triumph 400 and was cruising around, and she came off that, and she's like, "I like that one," and I was like, "Okay, that's good to know."
Noted.
But I spoke with Andrea there. She's kind of high up in the motorcycle industry council now, but she's also an MSF coach. She said they like the Triumph 400 because there's enough, I guess, torque when you just idle and release the clutch out that you don't have to throttle. So it's not going to stall out when you're just people are learning it, which I thought was a good thing because I had to learn quickly that I still needed to give it some throttle and clutch, which is that was probably the biggest hurdle in figuring out when it was learning to ride was just that little nuance. I mean, now it's a piece of cake. It's, you think nothing of it, but that's kind of one little barrier that you have to get through.
Well, it's one of those things that the whole course is designed as a kind of a crawl, walk, run aspect to it. And the idea is the only thing that you had to know and be able to do there, besides all the age restrictions and stuff like that for here, is can you ride a bicycle? Do you have a sense of balance? And from that point, the idea is that between the two coaches that, at least in my kind of coursework, between the two coaches you have there, we'll be able to get you most of the time, a 90% success rate of, okay, we're going to be able to get you on the bike, understanding how to at least release the clutch, use the friction zone, and shift from first to second gear. And, are you going to be ready to go to Sturgis or Bike Week or, by the end of the weekend? No. What we're doing is we're giving you the tools in the toolbox to go out there and practice in your, school parking lots, in your cul-de-sacs, side streets, stuff like that. Because again, this is, even for a lot of the more experienced people that are coming back to get a refresher, it's people that have taken time away from bikes, new fathers that had kids or new mothers that had kids, and now the kids are in college. Like, okay, I want to get back into it. Again, this is just kind of refreshing the basics. Because again, for the people that come back and say, okay, I've been riding like me, I've been riding since 3.5 years old. Like I don't know what it's like to approach a motorcycle as an adult and not know what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's hard to kind of convey what we're trying to teach to someone like that because I've never experienced it. But that's also why we have another coach, because if I can't say it out in plain English, the other person, the other coach, it's kind of we work as a team. Maybe I take a step back and another coach comes in and says, because it's not like a good cop, bad cop thing. It's just, each person has a different approach to it.
Yeah,
right?
And it's finding the right approach kind of tailored to the student, I guess. Well, and you mentioned it earlier, like through your training, and Randrew, maybe you can speak to this too, that a lot of what they teach you is not just this is how you set up the course, but it's also like, here's how you talk to these students, and here's how you can maybe approach, conveying the information to them if they're just not getting it. And so, I mean, there's all types out there. Some that get it, some that don't. And so let's, for anybody that's watching or listening to this after the fact and there's like, oh, I want to learn more about the MSF course, I want to go take one. If you could give them one piece of advice for them to go into an MSF course, what would that be? Who wants to go first?
Well, let me ask you this. I want to hear your response to this too, though. For me, the one thing that helped me out the most is they're going to be telling you and yelling at you by the end of the second day, like, get your head up, get your eyes up, look ahead, look out. And what they're trying to get you to do is think about going down the road. You're driving along, and if you're looking out your side window and you're seeing these telephone poles speed past you super fast, mailboxes, everything's happening pretty chaotically, right? The further you look out, your frame of reference gets further out there. You've already seen all that stuff that's heading your way, so you've already taken into account what that is. You're using your peripheral vision to help you because you have like a little 2% cone that your vision looks at, because everything else, your mind is sitting here kind of trying to piece everything together. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. That's the biggest thing, though.
Don't think about it.
Yeah. But getting your head up, getting your eyes up, looking down down the road helps with balance, helps with perception. You see everything that's already coming or that you're coming up to. Because the two most dangerous places for motorcycles to be statistically are intersections and curves. Intersections because there's so many more factors involved than just you riding down this street. There's cars, dogs, deer. I got a deer story myself. And in curves, yeah, and in curves, you know, let me quiz you on this. Right-hand curves are more dangerous and deadly to bikers than left-hand curves. Do you know why that is?
Typically, right-hand curves are tighter than left-hand turns, and also, I don't know this information. I'm just trying to piece it together with what I think.
Yep.
I feel like it has something to do with the throttle being on the right side, and that gets a little bit out of whack because you're going that direction, and you give it either too much or cut it off, and you get disruptive.
So great answers, great responses. But the biggest thing is, if you run wide, I know that's great.
Good job. No.
If you run wide in a left-hand turn, you're going out in the grass, ditch, guardrail, whatever. If you go wide in a right-hand turn, what are you doing? You're going in oncoming traffic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Target fixation, stuff like that. Oh, things that Andrew can actually speak to from this weekend.
Nice.
Are we gonna talk about that? Sorry. Anyway,
so your advice, coming back to the original question, is eyes up, heads up, and I'll respond to that as thinking of back to my MSF course as a student is, it's really just you want to look down and make sure you're looking at the ground, seeing oh, is the wheel turning? Yes, the wheel's going to turn. The ground's still going to be there. You don't have to look at it. But it really is amazing, how true it is of look where you want to go and how much that plays into it. So, Randrew, piece of advice for somebody fresh coming into the course. What do you think?
Oh, okay. Be calm and be smooth. That's all there
I like
is to
that.
it.
Way different answers here in the duration of the answer too, but
head and eyes up is important. I say it a lot, but being calm and collected and being smooth with the controls, something everyone can focus on doing right at the beginning, and go in with a good start.
Yeah, I could see where people could come into this and thinking, okay, I'm going to be riding a motorcycle. And they can come in with all different perceptions about it because you hear motorcycles are dangerous. So they may come in with some level of fear in this that it's going to spontaneously combust between their legs. That's what and sorry.
My mom's watching, by the way.
Oh,
hi, Mom.
You knew that was coming. So what happens is people come in with this fear factor, and they just it can kind of mess with their head a little bit, or even with me coming in, I'm the only one without experience, and then I pop that clutch the first time, it's but Randrew, to your point, is to just be kind of calm and cool, and we're on a safe course. You've got certified people that are looking after you, and if you do something wrong, they'll be like, no, here's what you need to do. And so, it's just kind of, think about everyone's out there for all the same purpose, so it's not like you have to feel like you're going to embarrass yourself in front of other people because, I'll let y'all speak to this, but maybe you can see how people evolve over the time of the course. But as we got into the course, there was kind of a camaraderie of the students, and that we're encouraging each other, and just hey, good job, going over that log or whatever it is. So
some of the biggest things that I've been able to take away in my little time of doing this, because it's felt like a forever, but also blip of my radar. There's the people that are really analytical, the people that want to have a full scientific method to how to approach this next exercise. They're tough to kind of get out of their own head. Mm-hmm. If you have, usually someone that's going to have a hard time is someone that wants to have to think every process through. like you said earlier, now shifting is no big deal. It's already muscle memory. There's a lot of the people that have success on these short time crunched weekends are people that just kind of laissez-faire, go with the flow, understand that it's a dance. It's more of a finesse related exercise than it is a you know egg A goes into slot B and stuff like that. Because there are analytical people out there. There's lawyers, there's mathematicians, there's stuff like that, but also there's artists. There's free spirited flower childs, whatever. But kind of the idea behind it is, it takes all kinds of kinds to make this world go around, right?
Yeah.
And so, as any good coach, it's kind of like art class. You got people here trying to draw stick figures with 3 legs, and you got people like Ranger here that are painting Mona Lisa or Starry Night. A good coach can come in and give pointers to both.
Yeah.
And not harp on things, because the biggest thing about being efficient with the weekend in the small amount of time you have, because you only have 2 half days in these people's lives, getting them on the bike, getting them riding, and getting them correcting mistakes and getting to the point where they can understand that, okay, I made a mistake. Coach Trey didn't have to tell me that. I know I screwed up. So now the next time, that next attempt, if we see improvement, that's all we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And, even at the end of the weekend, the camaraderie, like day 2 is my favorite day, because you've already, day 1, all the nerves are gone. You know how the coaches are going to react. You know how the class goes. You know kind of what the experience is. But you, in a full class of 12, you're one of your 11 other comrades out there are kind of walking through things and encouraging you and saying, hey, I noticed you did this better this time, or hey, how'd you do that? Because I'm struggling with this.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of that last little puzzle piece that makes a successful weekend what it is, right? And so, yes, you're getting the benefit of coaches and stuff we've learned and the program itself. But at the end of the weekend, it's a lot of fun seeing people, swapping Instagrams and, taking selfies with each other. And dude, there's nothing like that. I mean, seriously, there's nothing like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of camaraderie built into motorcycling already, and it's cool to hear it kind of manifest itself out of the gate when they're starting their journey on this path too. So, but I'm sure you have a few knuckleheads that come through once in a while that are, maybe not the best. So, so let me ask: has there been somebody that's come through that you thought initially there's no way? Now, I know we shouldn't judge people, right out the gate, but you know what? We're humans, and we have these thoughts of somebody comes into class and you're like, ah. Was there somebody who ever just surprised you that you were like, okay?
So there's 2 sides to that coin, obviously. I can distinctly remember a time where, again, Short King here comes up, walking up to this big burly Sears fridge man, that's big, burly, got the tattoos, he's been riding Harleys forever, blah, blah, blah. He gets clammed up at the first mistake and can't kind of get past, he's the only person I've ever seen lock up a front tire and not go down. He got lucky there, but it's just because he's so big on this little beady bike.
Yeah.
But, he wasn't teachable, because he came into that weekend thinking, okay, I'm just here to get my license. I've rode for years, and by road, basically, interstate mileage. Anyone can go straight and fast, fast and straight. Not many people can take these curves, as we've all kind of experienced, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not being malleable and not being teachable, why are you even doing here? Like, I get it. You could have just gone to the DMV and shown, okay, here's my turn signal, my blinker, stuff like that. Like, you're not going to get anything out of the class if you're not willing to learn, because you already know everything. Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that, there's, this petite 90-pound soaking wet cheerleader comes up, never swung a leg over a bike, She's might have ridden backpack on a scooter, like a scooter down at Palm Beach or something like that. She has no bad. There's no. She's there to have fun. She's there to do something with her summer break before she goes to college. She's there because her boyfriend came, 2 months before, and and is kind of encouraging her to be there, right? And she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never turned on a motorcycle. This is cool though. Cool. Well, we can work with this. And by the end of the weekend, she got a perfect score on the written eval and the writing eval.
Mhm.
Like, you cannot have any preconceived notions because they're going to be completely wrong at the beginning of the weekend. I learned that real
True.
early,
Yeah.
real early.
Yeah,
So,
and that's true in a lot of arenas of life. But yeah, I didn't know if you had some good examples. Randy, you got anybody that comes to mind, like this person that's burned in your mind of being that student?
Well, I've taught hundreds and hundreds of students over the past year. My classes sometimes are 48 students big.
yeah, Lord.
How many coaches do you have out there?
4.
So
So
is it like 1-12 ratio? Is that the max?
it's one
Mathematician.
coach per 6 students, or one coach per 12 if they're in the classroom. Ours is a lot different than how Trey does his. I won't get too quite into it, but we can flip flop classes so that way 24 students are out on the range while 24 are in the classroom, and then you flip them.
Mm-hmm.
So that way some coaches stay in the classroom, so you can have less coaches in the classroom teaching a classroom of 24. You have 2 coaches teaching a class of 24,
Gotcha.
and then you have 4 coaches out there doing just range stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But so I've taught a lot, and the cool thing, I guess, about Illinois being free is that if you don't make it, right, we counsel out students, I'd imagine, a lot quicker than other places do, because we don't have to worry about that monetary risk for a student, right? If you're having
Yeah.
a problem, if you're going to be a safety hazard, I'll get you out. That's fine.
See ya.
But I've had a student that came back 5 times. I've taught this individual 5 times, and the 5th time they finally made it, and it was fantastic. And it was great. You don't really count them out, because if they're really motivated, they'll just keep coming back,
Well,
and they'll
yeah,
just
5
keep coming back,
times.
and eventually they will understand it.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could be, essentially kicked out, or whatever their perception
Yeah,
is.
we'll counsel them out, usually saying,
Count-
like, for your safety or the safety of others, we recommend that you start again from the beginning at another class.
Yeah,
They're usually understanding too. It's not a surprise when you come up and coach them out. They're like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that somebody could take that really hard and be like, cool, that's it. I'm not doing this ever again. But
Mhm.
somebody that comes back is like, I'm going to get this.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you want to fight for those people too, as well, to some degree of like, I want this person to succeed. They're trying, and that's all you can ask for. But so Trey, with you, you've got the paid courses. I guess you try a little harder to not counsel them out, but has that come up a time or two?
Yeah.
Or more?
It's so Coach George. He's my buddy, man. He's I've taught with a lot of different
George.
coaches here. Coach George Gerard. He's awesome, man. He took me under his wing. There's 2 really great coaches that took me under the wings. Coach Benita, she's a saint, but man, she's hard. But there's also Coach George. And me and him just kind of saw eye to eye from day one. And the first thing he says, as we're doing introductions and kind of do the icebreakers on Saturday morning, because the way our course works is you have a 4 to 5 hour online e-course that's done within 30 days of actual course, the on range class day, and then you have Saturday and Sunday range time on the bikes. And so, outside of a list of names and some phone numbers we have to call, making sure that, hey, are you going to show up for class today? We don't really know these people. It's really important to kind of convey, hey, we're out here to have safe fun, in that order, and we're not going to sign your death certificate. Like, we're out here to have a good time, a good learning experience. You want to be out here, but at the same time, if you're going to be a danger to us, to yourself, to any one of your teammates out here, we're gonna kind of nip that in the bud as soon as we can. That said, there's there's options. Being that you did pay a good chunk of money to be out there, we don't want to just say, hey, I know you're going to yell at our Google review on Monday, but sorry, you just wasted that money. No, our crew is really good about, okay, well, what we can do is, maybe this, this is not your last day of riding. This is just not your weekend. And some people have bad weekends, bad days, bad moments. We all have, right?
Yeah.
It's about not discouraging that if you can, and say, hey, there's options, because in this great state of Tennessee, an M license is M license. It doesn't matter if you got it on 3 wheels or 2 wheels. So the trike class has the same license endorsement as my motorcycle license does. But we don't want to say that in the very beginning, saying, okay, well, there's an easier option then.
Yeah.
But we can always say, hey, I'm sorry that we're kind of struggling. We'll do as much remedial as we can, but again, we only have so much time out there on the range, and there's a point of diminishing returns where these people have been out there, especially in August, September. We're sitting here just melting in these jackets because we have to have, full riding gear, which is, full finger gloves, long sleeves, helmets, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want the whole team, 11 other people to be brought down just because this one person might be a little slower on the uptake. So what we'll do is we'll say, hey, call up Monday, call up Tuesday, see if you can reschedule. And kind of depending on where it is, there's a lot of gray area. There's a whole lot of gray area in what we do and how we do it, because at the end of the weekend, the coaches have a rapport with the students. And, if somebody has a bad moment, we know they've been riding good all weekend. Some people have factor anxiety. They see us and then they see us with a clipboard.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I had to write down a 0, because a 0, it's the scoring works as the lowest score is good. So a 0 is great, and 16 is failure. We have to write down a 0 just like we do have to write down a 5, right? But people get anxiety about that. People are thinking, oh crap, I just messed up. What did I do wrong? And it kind of snowballs, out of it. If that does happen, we can say, okay, hey, I'm going to take you aside, and we're gonna do the award ceremony. We're gonna hand everybody certificates, and we're gonna ask you, hey, now that everybody's gone and there's no pressure, do you want to kind of retake those last 5 evaluations and try again? And a lot of times that's all it takes, and they'll get a perfect score because they know what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we do try.
Give it a little bit of the personal touch.
Yeah, it's all about, I don't want to say inclusivity and stuff like that, but honestly, it's just we're trying our best to let everybody succeed. And if it means me going a little bit out of my way, I'll do it. I mean, I've been on the range in my socks before because someone decided, oh, I came 45 minutes away. I can't go to Walmart and pick up some shoes, but my shoes don't cover my ankles. But I have to wear something that covers my ankles. Okay, well, hey, what size shoe do you wear? Oh, well, we can make that work. So I actually swapped out shoes with a kid, just because it's it's a good thing to do. Yeah, make it happen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I guess maybe sometimes you give them a little monetary break, be if like, hey, come back next weekend or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. No, that's good, because I mean, the whole idea of this is we want people to have a good experience on 2 wheels. We want more people on 2 wheels, and so you don't want to leave that bad taste in their mouth. But
exactly.
Of course, they have to do the work too, and they have to pass. So,
well, again, we're just giving you tools. That's all we can do, man. That's all we can do is just kind of say, hey, this is what we would do, and this is what you need to practice on. Because again, at the end of the day, it's all practice, and it's just trying to make it easily digestible and understandable, and say, okay, this is now that you crawled, you can walk. Now that you can walk, you can run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if people don't know, you can actually get a break on your insurance by passing the MSF course.
Yes.
So even if you do have to pay a couple $100s, which initially can suck to fork that out, but it can pay off a little bit later on down the road. Plus, if it saves your life later on because you now know how to even just is the acronym C, search, evaluate, execute?
Yes.
I remember something. So learning that, not just the acronym, but actually doing it, sometimes that's worth the $200-300 because you have that skill set, and now you didn't just get smeared by this 18-wheeler. So,
Like I said, we see the numbers. We know what we do is actually making a difference.
yeah. So I mean, so it's kind of like the argument that people have about buying a helmet. And it's like, I'm not going to spend $500 on a helmet, $600. Well, it's your head, so
you only got one.
It's important. I think learning the right way is obviously important. Not learning bad habits from Uncle Joe, who I don't know. I've just pictured a Florida man for some reason. Sorry for those of y'all that live in Florida. I'm not apologizing that I may have offended you. I'm apologizing that you live in Florida. But anyway.
That's about to have you, man.
We just lost all our Florida viewers. No. Jokes, people. But no, I was so glad that I took that course. Again, I kind of was using it as a litmus test for, will I be good at it? Will I like it? But if I come out on the other side of it, I'm essentially licensed and I get an insurance break too. So
yeah, and I mean, if you want to take a little bit of the mystery away from it now, I'm happy to kind of discuss kind of what a weekend looks like with us. You want to do
that? Yeah. So if anybody's listening, watching, and want to know what is it like to experience, give us kind of the high level schedule, and then both of you can kind of weigh in on like how y'all differ a little bit. I mean, Randy, you kind of touched on that.
His is completely different.
Yeah.
So is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. High level schedule. Don't go in the weeds, but like Trey, I got to rein you in a little bit. Otherwise you'll go for 4 hours about like, well, this is the classroom stuff. But no, but like high level, what's your, is it a 2-day course for both of you?
No.
Cool. Randy, why don't you go first? My kids just came home, so I'm going to work with that real quick. So Randy, take the reins. I'll be right back. How about that?
Okay. Sounds great.
All right. So our rider safety course is a 3-day course. It goes from 6:00 p.m. till 9:30 at night on Friday, and then we are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. And there's multiple ways it can go, but generally a standard class, which is what I mostly run now, that Friday, that 6 to 9:30 is all classroom stuff, because we focus a lot on the safety aspects. So usually Friday is always classroom, and then we'll be out on the range first thing Saturday morning for a couple exercises, go back into the classroom, do some more classroom work, go out to lunch. Okay, after lunch, you're out on the range, you do a couple more exercises, you finish up your range time for that day, go back into the classroom, do some classroom stuff. And then Sunday, it's scheduled very, very similarly, except our classroom stuff on Sunday is more activity based instead of knowledge based. So we'll have you do like construct a crash using factors you've selected and how you can reduce stuff, or it's less book work and more you get to hang with your group and have some fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, look at that. The little dogs. You got to make sure.
There you go.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Say, hey, Mr. Ghost. This is Mr. Bear.
Hey, Bear. How you doing, buddy?
Mr. Monkey.
Bear and Monkey. So you got a whole zoo over there. What do you call your wife? Never mind.
Yeah, Mom's watching. All right.
Mandy's a great person. That's interesting that it's like a 3-day thing, because that, I don't know, it just seems like a lot, because again, comparing to my course here in Georgia, which I think probably more mimics what Trey does, is it was a Saturday, Sunday thing. It was like classroom stuff in the morning for a couple hours, and then it was out on the range, and then day 2 was all range. And but yours was what, 8 to 6, you said? On like
so Friday 6 to 9:30 all classroom, and then Saturday and Sunday is a mixture of classroom and riding from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
That's all day, man.
So it's the whole weekend is teaching you the physical skills and a lot of the safety minded skills and learning how to build on your perception.
Yeah,
It's
I
physical, all
did.
right.
and other stuff like that.
Yeah, Trey, what's your schedule like on a typical
So
BRC?
so again, they'll have an online course, which is it's great, but man, at the same time, you don't really get the whole okay, I gotta ask questions to the teacher kind of thing. But it's 4 to 5 hours that can be done up to 30 days before getting into class. And then Saturday morning, people arrive. During the summer, it's usually 7 o'clock local time. During the winter time, we move to about 8. It's usually exercises 1 through 7 for day 1, which is basically the way the exercises work. It's you get a kind of an overview of objectives, 1 to 2 objectives you need to learn, and you're provided a overview of the course. You're provided a walkthrough of what the practical demo is, and then you're also given kind of a chance to ask questions about what it is. But you get to see the coach ride or do the path of travel, etc. Um, before actually attempting it for the first time. So you at least get to see it done. You get to take in the layman's term. Plus, we do a lot of RTFM, read the frickin' manual, so we kind of have to work through what the guidelines say. But that's once we get done with the exercise, we usually do 2 exercises and then break. A quick 5-10 minute break. Sometimes we break for lunch, sometimes we don't. But on a good weekend where things are running smoothly and at least I'm on my game, you're looking at from 7 a.m. to maybe 2 to 3 o'clock on Saturday. At the end of that day, we'll usually do a quick review and a 30-question multiple choice test. At that point, we'll release and dismiss for the day. Next day on Sunday, hides on rides at 7 a.m. and kind of finish up for exercise 9 through 14. Again, more of the same. And we do have some of those kind of basic, it's done in a good way to where like exercise 5 and 14 are really, basic, kind of tests, not tests, but an exercise to give you kind of a chance to just ride the bike and kind of experience what you've learned all together. And then we have 5 actual ridden evals, riding evals, which are what slalom, stop, or slalom, quick stop, swerve, peanut, and the U-turn. It's just really easy stuff.
The box.
The box. And what a
Is
lot
it-
of people don't believe is that the exercises are harder. All the exercises 1 through 14 are more difficult than the actual eval. The only thing that's hard about the eval is that you're being graded on it.
Yeah. The perception of you're under the microscope.
I can't screw this up. Yeah. So yeah.
Although I've seen with mine, I think there was somebody who during the evaluation step they may have like failed on one or whatever, and the coach came over, gave him a pointer, and was like, "Do it again." Cool, you
Yes.
passed. And it
Yep.
was just okay. You have the capability to do this, but I think to something you said earlier is like you have to take that home, and then you have to start in a parking lot and kind of then you've been given the hammer and nail. Now you have to build your birdhouse, and then you can build your shed in the backyard, and then so on. But analogies, there you go. It's interesting to hear the differences between the 2 courses and how they're facilitated as well. I don't know. It's just interesting, and one's free, one's not. So you get more. You have to spend more time with Randrew, but it's free, or you can have a shorter time and pay hundreds of dollars with Trey Dog. So everyone move to the state of your choice and then pick a coach. So, I mean, anything else you guys want to add about the MSF course and such? I mean, gotten a lot of details about like what it is and how to approach it and such, but anything else you want to add on that?
Honestly, if our audience here is really the ones that are going to really feel that this would be a good way to kind of get introduced, but it's funny how successful it is for people like us that run into the wild and go out and standing in line or going to a concert or something like that, and people see, oh, what's smart, or oh, you got a Harley shirt on, or you got a Aprilia shirt on, or something like that, and you start conversation up and like, yeah, man, motorcycles are so dangerous. I know, my uncle's cousin's first sister know somebody that was killed back, 35 years ago on a bike, and I could never think about doing that. I'm like, yeah, I know, but were they licensed, or what was a lot of the times the circumstances surrounding what happened? A lot of the accidents, especially around Nashville, they're not licensed, they're not insured.
No
There's
training.
there's some sort of substance abuse involved, whether it be alcohol or drugs or whatever. That's kind of that's what makes the news. That's
Yeah.
what gets clicks, and that's what people are seeing.
Yeah.
If you come to our class, you're not going to be a statistic, or the likelihood to be a statistic is statistically lower. We're where you kind of want to start, and if not us, you know, have we're putting people out there that can kind of pass on these things. I've been fortunate enough to ride with my father. I think he's actually watching this right now. Love you, Dad. I remember riding with him.
Big dog.
Yeah, big dog. I remember riding with him, and I was leading because I know these roads a lot better because they moved up here after I moved up here.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember him coming across this cardo plug and saying, "How do you do that?" I'm like, "How to do what?" He's like, "Dude, I'm all over the road back here. But you're like straight as an arrow going down these roads." I'm like, "All right, well, how relaxed are your hands?" He's like, "I'm white knuckling because it's been a hot minute since I've been out here on this bike, on the big dresser of a bike." I'm like, "All right, just relax a little bit. Try to be able to play piano with your fingers." Okay. "All right, where are you looking?" He's like, "Well, I'm looking at your license plate, and we're riding staggered." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. You need to look way, way ahead. You need to look horizon levels away."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Okay, okay." And the next fuel stop, I said, "Okay, how are you feeling now?" He's like, "I'm feeling a lot better." I'm like, "Well, what changed?" He's like, "Well, I just started doing what you told me to do." And it's like
Yeah.
those two sentences made him a better rider. And
Yeah.
to be able to, have people like that out there that show up to these places, because, me and Randy, we spent this past Memorial Day weekend. We rode together in the mountains, man. We had a blast. We had an absolute blast. But to have kind of two coaches out there, and even all the sport cons I've been to, I've actually asked Andrew, like, "Hey, man, how's my riding? What can I do better, or what are you seeing, or stuff like that." Having people out there knowledgeable, having a knowledgeable populace is not going to hurt us. It's just going to make us better. And just to kind of get out there and have more people doing it the right way with the right approach with the right mindset, it can't be bad. It can't be bad, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Always looking for just ways to improve. Motorcycling is definitely one of those skills where it's a use it or lose it thing. And
Absolutely.
and even if you feel like, oh well, I use it every day, I drive to work every day. Well, if you're driving the same 20 miles on the same roads every day, you're not growing because it's just
Hmm.
rinse and repeat. So it's going to new roads, taking new courses, or a course that you've not taken in 10 or 15 years. Maybe go take the advanced rider course. Because I think at least for my insurance, the MSF discount is like, have you taken a course in the last 3 years?
Yes, that's right.
So there is that part of it, but just to continue to enhance and update your skills, refine it, shake the rust off, whatever it may be. But I like that approach. Is like, I mean, even the guy here who is an MSF coach is saying, "Hey, what can I do better? Did you see anything that I can do better?" And that's, I think, a great approach. And it's hard for some people to do that.
It is.
Because
So kind of the one thing that made me realize that I was where I needed to be in all this. What's going on?
no, it's just I thought it was weird because I thought I heard you go, and I was like, did he say
I
something?
did.
What? But sorry, Zoom.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
continue.
The one thing that really made me realize that I needed to do what I needed to do, or that was the right spot, was had a during my actual in-person coaching boot camp. I had a lady that we actually graduated. She was, blue hair, gray hair, what do you want to call it? She was seasoned, a lovely lady. Miss Sarah was her name, and she brought her own pearl white Yamaha Zuma, and yeah, And because you can bring your own bikes, you can, scooters are also licensed vehicles. But she was a transplant from Florida, and kind of when we were doing an icebreaker, we are asking, hey, okay, what brought you here this weekend? Why didn't you want to show up and pay money and get your license? And she's like, well, I've got 3 older brothers that swore I would never ride a motorcycle, that I would never have my license. And I'm just here to prove them wrong. I'm like, this is a bucket list thing, right?
Okay.
And it just to have her over the long weekend, because again, that was my weekend where I was being certified as a coach. So I was stressed the heck out, man. Like I was nervous. Am I doing everything right? Because
see, you get evaluated and your nerves turn up.
It's
too.
wild, man. But at the end of the weekend, before I actually got certified and got the handshake from Mr. Steve saying, hey, congratulations, you're coach, we were helping load up her bike because obviously she couldn't ride it there because she wasn't licensed, but she passed. And I'll never forget that she came and found us all and hugged all 12 of us one by one and sat there and thanked you with tears in her eyes, saying that, I was told I could never do this. And here I am. I got my certificate. I'm going home. I can I can shove it in their face now, because you made
yes.
you made dreams come true. And like just stuff like that, man. It's wild. And beyond just being a coach and being part of the MSF, stuff like that, it's part of this community, man. Because being on the two-wheel community, the C2 Dub stuff, the stuff that's kind of brought us all together, we're a culmination of that, right? It's just things that shouldn't work as well as they do, man. Two wheels bring people together, and we should
100%.
celebrate that. Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're all talking from 3 different states, and we have others, and it's like every year we're like, where are we going to meet up and ride now? I mean, that you don't do that with like other hobbies that much. I mean, maybe unless there's like a big convention or something, but it was just that kind of, and Ranger, I think it was you that kind of started the SmortCon idea of like, cause it was, the whole world shut down a few years ago, and there weren't the Moto meetups, and Randrew was just like, oh, we're just going to make our own. Oh, that's funny. We should call it SmortCon. we're going to call it, we're going to have SmortCon. And so it was a joke that has manifested. There's even apparel now that you see Trey wearing over here. We took a trip last year to go see the solar eclipse. I mean, just because it was just like, let's ride bikes. It's like back to being kids, right? Hey, let's go ride bikes. Total eclipse of the Smort. Yeah, I mean, really, the community. With every community, there's always the ones that you're like, they're adopted. But for the most part, the motorcycle community
Andy
is. No, I was thinking more of some Jixer bras, but anyway.
Yeah.
No, it's great to see how supportive the motorcycling community is, and just welcoming. And it's like, oh, you have a cruiser and I've got a sport bike. Cool, let's go ride. Or so it's really not all the. You got a few patches out there that. Anyway, we'll digress on that. So, anyway, Randrew, anything to add on MSF?
I don't even remember what that original question was.
Anything you wanted to add about MSF, you wanted to promote or say this is a great part of it? We've been yapping for a while.
Yeah, I've just been listening. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have to talk that much. I'd say that continuing your safety education and learning how to ride in a safe and responsible manner and developing those mannerisms early on are really important to creating riders that will ride for a long time. And I think that going to your local rider safety coach course, your MSF, whatever it will be, I think that it's a great way to start off that journey, and even get you maybe a little bit of a head start on being the safest, most responsible rider you can be on the road.
Yeah. And we definitely want to try to move the needle on those statistics in a positive direction as well. But being that the stats are what they are, as Trey told us, that MSF training and such, it puts you on the right side of those figures. So, what's the website? Is it msfusa.org or something like that? I don't know. I would imagine it has. Yeah, I would imagine it would have something that says, find a local course close to you.
So for Illinois, it's the oh wow, that's backwards. It is the
It's
mrp.siu.
right for us.
Oh, is it? It's
Yeah.
the mrp.siu.edu website. It'll take you to the Southern Illinois University of Carbondale. There'll be a bunch of links. You can find out what course you want to join into and go from there. So I have my cards that I hand out, and so
Cool. Now we just need 49 other of those little promos for every other state, and we'll be ready to go.
well, you could probably Google it up and look for a motorcycle
Yeah.
safety course in your state, and you'd probably end up finding one because not all of them are MSF branded. Like ours technically is an MSF. We are the motorcycle rider program because we're a different type of thing. But it's we use a lot of the stuff from the MSF program.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, good deal. So if anybody's out there wanting to get into motorcycling, that's an hour plus of us saying, go take the MSF course. It'll be worth it. And so, guys, thank you for taking some time to talk about the MSF and whatnot. So hopefully that's going to be helpful to others out there, get them off on the right foot, and we can continue to push Two Wheels forward.
Thanks for the opportunity, man. Seriously, it's been a lot of fun.
So now what I want to do is I want to take us a little intermission. We're going to have a little life advice. And then I want to hear from you all about your recent excursion for a few minutes, if you all still have time.
Life advice.
Life advice. So let me you know what's coming. Here we go.
No, I don't.
Let's see if this cues up.
It's my favorite time of the week. Finally time for the ghost tip of the week. Yay! That was great! Ghost tip of the week. This is sponsored by Ghost on Two Wheels over on Instagram, of course. Speaking of tips.
All right, your ghost tip of the week. Never walk on ice with your hands in your pocket. Right?
Been there.
So
Done that.
now maybe it's not a big of a deal for me in Georgia because we don't get a ton of ice out there, but maybe up north with y'all, that may be a thing. So
yeah, we're more of a. It's not the heat that gets you; it's the humidity.
It is the humidity in Georgia, though, and I know Tennessee has a lot of that too. So because I grew up in Tennessee, but yeah, it's weird. It's like that southeast kind of just. Mother Nature has mood swings, and it can be
Suckage.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So you guys give me the proper name of the event y'all went on recently. It was at I've heard Smoky Mountain 500. Is that, or
Dong's Adventure in the Mountains? What was it called?
Yeah, we tried doing the Smoky Mountain 500. We did most of the off-road stuff. Some of the on-road stuff we skipped though because it was looking kind of nasty, and we were like, well, there's no point.
Well, what did we ride? What were you on?
What?
What were you on? What'd you ride?
Oh, I rode my Cove. I rode my Cove 450.
And I was on my Tourer X660 along with Triple D. He was on his Tourer X660 as well.
mm-hmm.
And Bo actually came up and made an appearance for a day too, which is nice.
Nice. Yeah, he was on the Tiger 900. So is that just basically a big loop around the mountains? Is that what it's supposed to be? I guess y'all kind of made it your own thing, right?
500-mile adventure loop around kind of where Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia all meet up.
Mm-hmm.
Murphy, North Carolina is kind of smack dab in the middle. So if you give yourself a radius around that, you kind of got the idea of what we're doing.
Nice.
Sprawling metropolis of Murphy, mind you.
The sprawling metropolis of 1,900 people in Murphy.
That's like the armpit of North Carolina. But
no joke. We passed a sign that said population 13 at some point. So
it's fine. It's fine. I grew up in a small town. Small towns are fun.
small towns have benefits. They also don't. So anyway, is this like an annual event that's organized, or is it just kind of thing like an iron butt that people just do? You know what I mean? Is it like an organized event that happens,
Uh,
or
you
is it?
you can Google it up. You get the GPX files, and you do it whenever you want. It's
Okay,
more of a this is
Sort
a
of like
route.
BDR, right?
Yeah, this is a route that somebody's created, and a lot of people do it. And so you can get the GPS files, throw them in your GPS, or go through a map if you want to be old school and go out for a couple days and have fun.
gotcha. I didn't know if it was like some big organized event that happens annually, or if it's just a, hey, we're gonna go do this challenge
It was
or
it
this
was
route.
I have Memorial Weekend free. I want to ride my bike.
I wouldn't
I've
ride my bike.
determined I'm doing this route. Would anyone like to join me? And then Doug was like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
I think
So
he's
that's how it all
often
started.
open for an adventure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like. So, yeah, I just haven't gotten to the point yet where I can be like, I'm gonna buy an adventure bike or something off road.
You have an adventure bike.
No,
You do.
the Ruckus.
I'll tell you what. How fast we were going off road, I did not want to go that fast. I wanted to go faster. But how the speed
We
we were
know.
actually going, your Ruckus would have kept up.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I think it needs maybe just a little bit more suspension travel before I
No,
take
because
it.
then you can just pick it up and put it over the ruts.
Yeah. I mean, and the old saying goes, any pizza is a personal pizza if you're brave enough. Any bike's an
Any
adventure
bike's
bike.
Any
adventure
bikes
bike.
and adventure. Yeah,
I sent you a link to the guy who all he does is adventure riding on his Ruckus.
yeah. I did see some of that. I need to check that out.
He transports it there in a mini truck.
Of course he does. Not the K truck.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really. Well, let me tour on my Ruckus cross country to go do this one little route. It would, although when you get about 100 miles to the gallon, that's kind of efficient. But
Well,
Yeah,
no,
but you
I'll
only
say,
hold 1 gallon.
I mean,
I'd
the
have to
fact that
refuel
Randy,
you like 3 times.
so a funny story. So my wife actually will take the Ruckus out, and sometimes we'll just go out riding, and sometimes we'll go on a date night. She takes the Ruckus and she leads the way, and I'm playing sweeper on my big leader bike, which is hilarious visuals. But we were going somewhere, and she was like, "Oh no, the fuel light came on," and I'm like, "Oh, for like the 3rd time since we've owned the bike," and so. I don't think she'd ever put gas in it, so she was kind of like, well, I unlocked the thing, so we went to the gas station and did all that. So she topped it up, and we looked at the gas pump, and it was like 0.993 gallons. And it was like, filled it up. Let's go another 100 miles.
deal.
They're the best. They're the best things ever. I love scooters.
Yeah.
Now, you understand the irony that I'm sitting here thinking about with Randy, because not only does this man, every time we go to SportCon, he's like, Super Hawk, awesome Super Hawk.
It's the best
Who are we
bike in
always
the world.
stop? I know.
It's the best bike in the world.
Who are we always stopping for at gas stations, right? Between you and
Greenie.
Greenie, I think she could go farther if she had to.
She can, but she never does. We always stop for Greenie before we stop for me. I've never been the limiting factor.
But so where I'm going with this is he's got the Super Hawk, but then he trailered down this Cove with his Corolla,
Mhm.
getting a massive 40-something miles a gallon. But then he's got this Prius of a bike that holds 6 to 8 gallons, like
8
just an
gallons.
obnoxious amount. And I'm like, how does this make sense? Like, these are the same garage, man. Dude.
Well, when you own 5 bikes, every bike's got to be different.
Facts. But geez. No.
Yeah, so how many bikes do each of you own? Ranger, you have 5?
Mm-hmm.
And Trey, you have?
Do you want to count the Sportster?
Motorcycles, not pit bikes.
Okay. I got 3 motorcycles.
Okay, so can I count the Ruckus on mine?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then I have 2, but I think it's great to speak that, my one bike that I had, the bike, a Versys 1000 liter bike, electronic suspension, heated grips, cruise control, all the things. And it's like, I need one more, a 49cc carbureted drum brakes.
Welcome to my life.
With
All
blinkers.
kinds.
I love that the blinker on that thing is so loud. Have you heard the blinkers on the Ruckus?
Yes, it buzzes. It buzzes.
No,
does?
it actually ticks. I mean, you can be going down the road with your helmet.
you can hear the relay buzzing as it flicks on and off while the bike's running. Because my Metropolitan is the same thing as your Ruckus.
Okay, so maybe you call it buzzing. I hear ticking, but it's kind
It's
of
so
just,
quiet
but
that
you hear
if
this.
you put your head down near the engine, you can hear the relay buzzing.
Oh man, it is so loud. So it's so funny. I love that thing. It's such a great method. I think it's a gateway bike. So anytime I got get the wife on it, I'm like, so you need something a little bigger to go a little bit further.
So
Or
no Triumphs in your future. Got it. Yeah.
or you need another scooter so you both can ride together. And if you want an adventure bike, oh boy, I got the perfect thing. Let me introduce you
Let's
to the
hear
Honda
this.
Trail 125.
Now that's a fun little thing. I
That
wouldn't
would be
mind having that
perfect
in
for
the
you.
garage.
You both can go on dates. You have the big storage in the back. You can go off-roading with it.
That
Ghost.
sucker's milk crate ready, just like the KLR.
Yeah.
Ghost, it's your next bike
But-
is the Trail 125.
Of a bike. Anyways, back to this weekend. Or Memorial Day weekend.
Go ahead, Trey. You got something to say?
Yeah.
Well,
He wants to talk mad smack because he's the only one that didn't fall down.
Oh, there it is.
Technically, I didn't fall down.
Did you
as the
fall up?
horizon goes, as the horizon goes, the bike never fell over because the bike went down a ravine.
Because it's so tall, I don't have to fall over. I just stood up. Huh.
It was so the only two times I've really ever gone, massive amounts of mileage was to the Eclipse. That was my first real over the road trip. And then this was a lot of fun because growing up on a dirt bike, growing up as a country boy, all that stuff, riding forestry roads and fire roads and fields and stuff like that. This is kind of my way of getting back to, okay, yeah, I'm back to 7-year-old Trey dog riding through the forest through on his little dirt bikes and stuff like that, and to be able to kind of bring in that whole, okay, I'm white dude midlife crisis. Obviously, I need an adventure bike, right? Duh. And to do it with the Cardo systems, to listen to have cool conversations with these guys, to experience it all, new things. And what's funny is, I've been born and raised in Tennessee my entire life. It's just I've never really taken the adventure of going down to Telco Plains or going down east of Chattanooga. But one Discord message like, "Hey Trey Dog, you want to you free Memorial Day weekend?" Like, "Hey Miss Dog, can I go to the mountains?" And I'm like, "Hey, we're getting an Airbnb. Do you want to go with us?" She's like, "I'm not going to sit in the Airbnb while you have all the fun." I'm like, "Okay, well, I mean, is that a yes or a no?" She's like, "Just go." I'm like, "Okay, I'll go." And to get away and to just experience just dirt roads, some washes, some technical terrain, but nothing super. Just it's not Dakar levels of crazy and chaos, but it was so rejuvenating to do it, man.
So here's my question for you. How much time did you spend cleaning the house before you left so that you could actually be allowed to go?
Zero time. I left.
All right, Mr. Lonely. So it corresponded with graduation season. So I saw Mr. Monkey graduate from kindergarten, and I had to stay late Friday night. I actually drove down Saturday morning because my loving sister-in-law, again, my wife's sister, was graduating high school, and we all know how big a deal that is.
Yeah.
And so she's like,
a bigger deal in the South than it is in the North?
I mean, it's not football levels of big deal, but it's, you only graduate once, and family values are a little bit different.
I was going to say it depends on the family. Some people, it's like you graduated high school, good, go get a job. Others, it's like, oh my gosh, let's celebrate. We didn't think they'd make it this far, and it's everything in between. And so, yeah. But
so that was mine. Yeah, that was where I had
fulfilled your domestic duties, and
yes,
good man. No, yeah, that all sounds like fun. Just getting out there and just
you honestly could have done the whole thing on your Versys.
Yeah.
There was maybe one or two points where you might have been a little sketched out. I don't know how it is for people with bigger bikes. You know, I have a vastly different motorcycle than Trey Dog does. Mine handled a lot differently. It's a bicycle in comparison.
He was hopping over every puddle, and I'm sitting here like, okay, what? You know, I just I will say this though. I don't really think it mattered what kind of bike we had. It's just the fact that we were out there together,
As
the
long
three
as
of
it's
us, the
not an
four of us.
Aprilia.
Hey.
He rode it.
Keep it
He
civil.
Rode it. He rode it.
I did ride it. I rode it for like half a mile. And I was like, this thing is enormous. This thing's huge. What is going on? And he rode mine. He's like, this is a bicycle. You're riding a bicycle. I'm like, yes, it is a 300-pound bicycle. Have fun.
Yeah, I think mine might have been a bit much when you have a 600-pound inline 4 that you're
Look,
kinda...
man, here, next time we do it, if you bring the Versys, I'll bring the Suzuki, and I'll off-road everything you do on the Versys with the Suzuki.
Oh, good Lord. The guy that drops everything anyway, so, okay.
Actually, what I'll do is I'll bring the Versys, but I'll have the Ruckus on the back, because...
Stack the Ruckus on the back of the Versys?
On the passenger seat. Just
there you
sideways.
go, yeah.
Because, I mean, it's like the Ruckus is just under 200 pounds.
I know.
That's a person.
They're light little things.
That's a person. It's just, yeah, this is my
That's
backpack.
Matt Spears levels. Take a stop.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, maybe someday I can get on the adventure. I'm not going to take my bike
I'll
off-road.
just buy. So I've been looking at DR650s because they're dirt cheap here. They're like $1,000. I'll just buy a DR650 and I'll tow it along with the Cove, and then you can come and you'll have the DR650. I'll have my 450, and you can chuck the DR off the side of the cliff, and I won't care because it's a DR and it'll probably start right up again and go up the cliff.
Fair.
I'm hearing a Smart Industries community motorcycle.
Well,
community ADV.
So the Superhawk already kind of is
ADV.
Well, okay, fine. Well, I need more money. I need more money to buy more bikes for people to come visit me. Nobody visits me. Don't visit
Sponsor
me.
plug.
Hey, we came to your state last year.
I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry you came to my state. Didn't you?
We
have
are
a
too, but
miserable
it was
time
a
on the
cool
way
event
back?
to see everybody. We got pizza and it got real shady, and
You guys made fun of me for pizza
No, the way you eat the pizza.
just because I use a fork and knife.
what do you eat it with? Your hands?
Yeah, uncivilized folks. Welcome to the North.
I will say it was kind of cool to cross the Ohio River on a ferry. That was kind of a
Yes.
neat.
It is.
It's just not
Ferries
something
are
you do
really
every
cool.
day.
Like, there's one right down the road from my house, and you can take it to go into Missouri. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and then we kind of went up that hill, and then it was just flat,
Yeah, no, you can.
and it was like, oh,
So now you know. Now you know how I go. Oh wow, a hill. Look, mountains. And you're just like, yeah, it's
I know,
mountains. They're pretty cool. And I'm like, no, you don't understand.
yeah. You came to the
Terrain.
North Carolina mountains, which are really not much compared to the Rockies, but you come to those, and you're like, holy crap!
I'm really just happy that the Corolla can make it up and down those with the trailer.
Yeah,
Me too.
Well, we'll see if it can do it again, right?
It will.
But-
It has
will.
to, or it's getting sold.
He's in the market
My
for a
man.
trans. If anyone in chat has one,
I want a van.
we know. Van life.
But no, that trip was fun. I'm glad that I said that I wanted to do something with people because I would have done it alone.
Yeah.
But I'm a little sketched out doing off-road stuff alone, especially if
As-
it's out
yeah,
in the
as it should
middle of
be.
no cell phone land.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get away with doing motorcycle trips on road yourself, but yeah, when you're
there
kind of
was a
out
lot
there,
of points where we were riding, and it was like I have no cell service. Thank God I have Spotify Premium, because or else this is about to be a real boring ride.
which you can listen to your music via your Cardo. Use promo code Ghost on Two Wheels
Yeah,
at
but
cardosystems.com.
I have a little weird version of it. I don't use the speakers.
Yeah, I've actually started using like plug phones more. So
Love plug phones. 20 bucks at Menards. Fantastic.
because like even with the speakers that are they're good speakers. I mean, they're
But
not
you wear
just,
earplugs.
no, but you need to wear earplugs. but even still, there's space between where the speaker's making sound and your ear, and sometimes there's still. So on my helmet, my most recent helmet, like I didn't even put the speakers in. I just put the plug phones in, and then plug it in that way. And I don't know. It's a little bit more to than just suiting up and go, but I don't know. It works out pretty well for me.
I think it's worth it. You know, I'm a believer now.
Yeah, and you can hear people a lot better too when you're talking.
Yeah, it's all.
So.
I have good ideas every once in a while.
Every once in a while, you know.
Every once in a while.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Hey,
all right. No, I'm following suit on you there. So we'll just have to see if enough people go and buy Cardos. Maybe I can get the Trail 125, and then I'll just bring that bad boy out.
It's the next bike. We'll do another off-road trail, right? It'll be even more difficult than this last one because this last one was way too easy.
I just want to see like the cinematics of this. I've got this in my mind of like you got a camera angle like kind of looking upward and somebody's coming by, you know, on the Touareg 660, boom, doing a little jump. Cool. Here comes the Cove, boom, you know, hopping it. And then it's like, wait a few extra seconds. It's the ruckus. Just.
But the problem
wait
is
for me. I have little legs.
We're all going to blow up long before your Honda does.
That's a true statement.
See, what happened is like you thought you were so manly coming up these washes and stuff, and then all of a sudden you get to the top of the Smoky Mountain, beautiful picturesque moment, and then here's a Prius Prime coming around the corner, like, oh, really?
Yeah, we saw a couple sedans up there, and we're like, so there's an Overlander. He's got $80,000 worth of gear. He's ready to go overland, and then there's like a bone stock Nissan just going at the same time. Like, dude, yeah, that's how you do it. And then the General Lee truck.
Oh,
there was a General Lee.
The Gladiator.
Passed like 3 times, and the last time we passed him, he honked his General Lee horn. He had the horn, the proper horn.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, the one thing you got to learn about riding with Dunkin' on Doug is the fact that just because you make a left-hand turn at the fork doesn't mean you're not going to turn around and come right back and go to the right.
Okay, it's more riding time. It's more riding time. That's all.
It is. It was.
He does take scenic routes.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick story here. The first SmortCon, when we were up in Franklin, Tennessee, he was taking point to give us some nice roads because we didn't want to just gun up 75 and then 24. That would have been. So he took us on some fun routes, which was great. But he took us on like the way out places. And then we get to the Airbnb and it's like, oh yeah, we were supposed to pick up Hawk from the airport. And we were late.
I'll never forget that ride on the back of your Versus.
Yeah, you broke my stator. I'm blaming you.
I did break the stator. Every SmortCon, something happens like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then every time I tow a bike, I drop it.
We know.
It doesn't matter what happens. The bike will drop on that U-Haul trailer.
I will say my favorite thing though is about going on these adventures because it's a free, you cannot pay to get this kind of expertise in the small town USA.
And you do.
To have Chase T tell you
we pay Ghost.
Native American based named cities and bridges and landmarks and delis and restaurants and places, and listen, all coming from this beautiful Appalachian American accent. It's awesome. It's beautiful.
There's something very unique about that. So
we love that.
Speaking of, we do need to like finalize our plans for SmortCon.
I'm thinking you wanted to do it in October, which
I thought if we could piggyback off of the Barber Vintage Fest.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do Barber Vintage Fest.
Whether we kind of like pat it on the front end where we have like just smart guys riding around hanging out, and then we do the Barber stuff, or hit Barber, and then afterwards we take a few days to just.
I'm curious. I'll have to email Barber if we could get our own little section just for us at Vintage.
His sponsorship tent.
Hey, right? You know what? It never hurts to ask, though, right? If they say no, what do we do? Buy tickets? Well, that's what we're going to do.
the biggest thing I learned when buying motorcycle gear, like all my stuff, I'll send an email. Hey, do you have any promotions going on? Or when do your sales occur? Bam. Best thing you can do is send an email asking, and generally you'll get something pretty cool in return.
They'll give you like a little discount code or something.
Dude,
Or
I got 20% off. They're like, oh yeah, you asked us, here's 20% off. I'm like, sweet. There's
and
the
on motorcycle
luggage.
gear, 20% is a good chunk of change. So
Yeah. So, but I'm thinking that time during Barber, because Fest sounds fun. So if people don't really want to ride, the museum's going to be open. All that stuff's going
Oh
to be
yeah,
going on. You're going to have all the events, all the
yeah,
vendors.
races.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
the optimum time so people can have entertainment
Well-
or we can be degenerates together.
Well, and it'll be a little bit of both, I think. So
Hopefully,
There's
no more
Buc-ee's.
jumping the Super Hawk.
there
Oh,
is
there's
a Buc-ee's
Buc-ee's, though.
close. There is a Buc-ee's
Oh.
close by. So
There we go.
I don't know. Well, guys, I think we've probably run the course on this one, but thanks for sharing your adventure about that. Love to hear all of these adventure stories, even if it's on the road or off, and kind of reminiscing about what we've experienced, SmortCon wise or other, and looking forward to the next adventures. But thank you guys for taking some time today. Thank you all for hanging out with us here on the live stream. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, and we're going to try to help push this thing forward a little bit. And
Haha, I'm the first one.
I don't know if you're the first one, but
Look, check.
I've lost interest.
Get out here.
Well, guys, thanks again. Oh, there's my puppers right here.
Oh, bear.
She's probably coming down like, hey, it's dinner time. You got to feed me.
Tsunamis.
We'll stream. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all on the next one. And ride smart, everybody.
Be safe. Have fun.